Everybody, Chris and Lumen here, and before we get started, let's make good on our word and do a giveaway drawing from that last video that we did. So we got all the all right, you're doing the picking. Okay, here. Is that Talon? Telonium 333? So, winner. Winner. I think I know who that is, but then again, that's how it works. It's like the people that are actually interacting with her, with us, like that's, of course, also you got to actually enter to win. But yep, if that's who I think it is, that, you know, because he doesn't comment that much, but you know, you'll know if it's you. Just text me and I'll get your Luminite accelerator out to you. So there's that. But yeah, we're getting back on the clock here. You know, sometimes like I actually just kind of have to do some other stuff. I usually just do this all day, do the videos, freaking fill the orders, build the pendants. But you know, every once in a while, you just gotta get some other stuff done. So I apologize if it's been hard to do. She hooked me up with a couch last night. My couch was freaking falling apart, and guy here in the complex is basically abandoned his apartment. We actually knew the guy, and they're going to throw everything out. He's got this nice big leather couch with freaking recliners on each end. I'm like, yeah, I'll go get that. So that was nice. Looks a little bit nicer in here, more room. So she hooks it up like that sometimes. But here's the thing. What are we going to talk about? This particular topic is a little bit hard, but I do have notes. It is one of the biggest things that you're striving to get to. And how this came about, this is not the first time, but it's not easy to like hold on to it. First time I had this realization years ago, like my brain was just like trying to like follow the pathways and figure it out and switch things around. And it's like about how to freaking aneurysm. It's gotten a little bit easier since then, but it has to do with your relationship to the Father, what we call the Father in Gnostic Christianity. The biggest all that is, what is your relationship to it really? That's what we're going to be discussing. How did this come about? I think mainly because what she was saying earlier is, you know, we go as far as we can with our energy tools. And then what happens, and when she introduces something new, like the Aegis Infernos or the Holy Fire pendants, like that was getting a whole nother layer of crap that we couldn't get to before. So after you go through the, like, you know, a week or so of like burning off whatever it's burning off, purging whatever it's purging, now you are more clear than you were before. And then you'll kind of get nudged by her. It's like, okay, you've worn this enough. Go back to one of these, one of the like liquid crystal core Luminite pendants or Luminite accelerator, something that's more spiritual connection based. And now that you've just, you know, bulldozed all sorts of crap out of your being, suddenly these things are doing more than they were before. So you start getting a lot more information flowing to you. And that's why sometimes I'll slow down on my videos for a minute or so, because, you know, when you're getting all sorts of new connections and new realizations and new epiphanies, like you need a minute to freaking process it. And that's what's been happening. I've got notes on a couple different subjects, but we're going to talk about the biggest one first because it's been overlapping a little bit with some of Kenneth's videos. And again, it's about your relationship to the Father, which is, this realization is what you're aiming towards. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
I light the way. I am the light, the boundless flame, endless, formless, ever the same. I am the breath, the motion, the sea, all that was and will ever be.
I'm also trying to pare these videos down so we're not talking like hour at a time. Maybe they'll be easier to digest, easier to go back over if we need to. But this kind of overlaps with how your reality works, how you change things, why things are the way they are. It has to do with those posts we put up in the community tab about the matrix. It's tying a lot of different threads together. And it really comes down to, jumping ahead. You might have heard me say it sometimes. You hear Kenneth say it all the time. It's in the Nag Hammadi, it's in the Bible. It's like well, it's the same thing with her too, but it's like, you are in the Father is in you. In the Nag Hammadi, there's a couple places where it talks about the chrism, and it's like the Son was in the Father and the Father was in the Son. This is heaven's kingdom. It's like, what's that mean? Well, it's microcosms and macrocosms. You're playing a character, but you are, the main part of you underneath all of this, all the layers of ego and identity and experience. Behind all of that is a fractal of the Father. Now, what is a fractal? What is a microcosm? Well, think of it in terms of like holograms. If you've got one of those hologram cubes and it's got the hologram encoded in it, and you cut out a little piece of that cube and take it aside, that little piece is still going to produce the entire image of the hologram. That's you. That's you. I don't want to get ahead of myself because, I'm going to start talking and then I'm going to start reading my notes and I'm going to be like, oh, I already said this. So let me go through the notes because like this is how I was processing it and how it was coming to me. But it also says a lot about getting through these sticking points where you're trying to change something in your reality and you're not sure why it's not changing. Because ultimately, you are driving everything. You just don't know it. The game doesn't work if you remember that you're God or part of it. And what you're aiming for, like this is stuff that she was popping in my head earlier, and I can't say any specific verse from the Bible or the Nag Hammadi. I'm sure Kenneth knows them. But there's a lot of different things in there about like, when you're ready, you inherit your father's estate, things like that. It means eventually when you grow out of here, you get, and this is what she's always told me, you get to have your own spot and you get to be the big guy. You get to create your own world. Like that's what you're aiming for. So here's where it gets important. Things play out and are experienced according to the beliefs held in the subconscious mind. Okay, remember that thing that we posted? Did I put it in here? I had to print it out real quick. This was post that Lumen wrote in the community tab the other day. The matrix is the totality of all you have learned and accepted as true, consciously and subconsciously. This vast body of knowledge shapes and defines the reality you perceive and experience, serving as the unseen framework through which your mind interprets existence. Transformation comes through the renewal of the mind, a conscious surrender of your personal matrix, known as emptying the cup. Since the ideal reality is beyond your knowing, you must trust and invite the highest point of consciousness to fill your cup with the ideal form of the world and guide you into alignment with it, becoming what is known and true. Okay? The matrix is the totality of all you have learned and accepted as true, consciously and subconsciously. And it's that subconscious mind that is running all the background stuff, the way things work. It's based on what you believe. So that subconscious mind in subconscious mind, that is a name for something that is intangible. That's just what we call it. Means different things to different people. But in this case, whether it's the subconscious mind or what's behind the subconscious mind, is the Father. That is what makes things work the way they work. That's why things stay the way they do until you change them in your mind. Now, I told you ahead of time that this particular topic is a little bit dicey to go through. I'm going to do my best. So just try to stick with me here. So when you're, what is it? The law of, is it causation? Causality? I think in the Kybalion, the Hermetic orders, it says you can use higher forces to change lower forces, something like that. That means your subconscious mind is going to keep rendering things the way that it does until you get what is behind the subconscious mind to change it. That is the Father, but it's also you. That's a weird thing. Like when you're praying and things like that, you're praying to yourself. It's just so big and so out there that it's like we can't think of it that way in this form. Like we got to shrink it down into things that we can handle. But in reality, that's what it is. When he says, the Son is in the Father and the Father is in the Son. So when you look at how Jesus was teaching things and saying things, especially more in the Nag Hammadi, because in the Nag Hammadi, he was dropping a lot more Morpheus level stuff. That's why he was always saying, do you not see the Father in me? Like if he as a man, now that whole story is a mix of all sorts of things. Something that probably actually happened mixed with events that are metaphorical. I mean, it's a big, crazy puzzle. But when you think about the way he talked, whatever he did between the time he disappeared as a kid and showed back up when he was like 33 or so, he broke down that barrier. He dissolved that ego self barrier, all that stuff. So like there's nothing between the Father within and you. And when you think of it that way, it makes a whole lot more sense. But let me just keep trying to go. So there was a comment on Kenneth's channel a couple videos back, and it kind of spurred something in me. And the comment on his channel was, I don't have a TikTok or Facebook either. I don't watch anything related to politics or news. But do you think that Elon Musk could have technology to stop or prevent us from having a flash event? The big transformation. If the world leaders or archons know of this event, why would they let humans upgrade to a higher level? And this is in my notes from a couple of days ago. Ironically, he also mentioned that comment and answered it in a video today that he did. And then Kenneth's response was, they cannot stop what Father is doing. They have no power unless it was given from above. No one can close the door in us, as told in the Bible. God is in control. That's the key right there. And it's one of the things that you've heard time and time again, but for most people, it goes in one ear and out the other. It's like things only have the power over you that you allow them. And I know in the early stages that doesn't make any freaking sense. But in the latter stages, it has to do with your engagement with the world and your belief about what things outside of you can do to you. Because it's really just a big freaking stage play. And things only can really harm you or mess with you when you're engaged in that stage play and you believe in that power and you believe that they have the intent to do so. It doesn't matter if it's, auditing your taxes or getting pulled over by the cops or whatever it is. Like, those things only really even happen when you're engaging in the world and you're believing in the world. When you believe the world is real, when you believe that things that say they have authority, when you believe that you're disconnected and separate from God, when you believe that you're just this nobody, then you are giving everything outside of you, you're giving it power because you think you're simply reading the world as you see it. You're observing it. You're like, well, what are you talking about? I know, I've went through these stages. They're hard to kick, where your brain is trying to reconcile it. You're like, I don't understand. Like, I can see it. Like, it's happening. How can I act like it's not happening? You got to go further back. Like, this is the matrix. This is what they said, the totality of all you have learned and accepted as true. So when you believe that you live in this system and all these things can come after you, they have the power to do so. When you truly break from that, when you truly empty your cup and you understand that you're in this crazy virtual type reality that you're experiencing like a live physical dream. The only stuff that can ever happen to you is that which you believe can and believe will happen oftentimes. That's where people get in like the bad, money problem loops, because it stings each time it happens, and then you come to expect it. Subconsciously, you expect it to keep happening, and you are creating that loop. You're doing it. You're doing it. And even when it comes to like the characters in this game, like the archons, the rulers, as one of my longtime viewers, Enzo, likes to always remind me, there's several places in the Nag Hammadi where it says the archons were up to some shenanigans, and it says, but they did so by the Father's will. It means like it's almost like you think you're in your dream. It's like you're actually like in God's dream or something like that. But you're participating in it. Everything that you believe in that has power over you does. They get that power from you. They get that power from you. Go back a ways, and I always say, like, the people that have the most problems in the hero's journey are the people that know the most knowledge about like mystical, magical, supernatural things. When you believe in all that stuff, especially if you believe it can actually harm you, you can have all those experiences. But when you take that away, you stop having them. I've stopped things that way before. You just disbelieve in it. If things are not changing, then there is something still in the subconscious mind that, by the will of the Father, which is the highest form of you, you're allowing it to happen. Now, let me just keep going here. Oh, so when I was looking at all this stuff, a couple Bible verses popped into my head that kind of highlighted what we were talking about here. They're very similar. They're from the book of Matthew. Matthew 16:19. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Matthew 18:18. Truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. That means you're determining what is bound up and what is free flowing. You are. And this is the thing that's so hard to explain to people. Is it really? It really is. Like, you just gotta keep contorting yourself in different ways until it clicks. Whatever you are sure of, whatever is certain to you, whatever you think you know, like, this always happens because it's gonna always happen that way. That is one of, if not the trickiest paradoxes to figure out. I still struggle with it. And a lot of this stuff was coming up because I was starting, after I'd done about a week and a half wearing the brimstone pendant, and she had me switch back to like a liquid crystal core, and I started getting information coming to me. It was mainly when I was looking at like the channel views. Now, there are two sides to this, and this is where I'm having a problem, because I'm getting conflicting information. Like, this is one of those things, like, it might actually be like an exception to the rule. Like, if I was doing anything else, then it probably wouldn't be an issue. But this is what I'm trying to figure out, if it can be changed. Like, the further that we go with handing out information that most places don't ever get to, the less people see it. It's because they're not ready for it yet. That's what I get from her. They're not ready for it yet. But at the same time, if it was any other thing, then I would be looking at, is it happening because I believe that that's the way that it is? That's the tricky part. And she's like, no. She had me, spend like 2 hours going on YouTube the other day, just searching, looking at channels, looking for anything even remotely close to like the way we talk here. And I couldn't find anything. The bigger the channel, like, let's just say, I don't want to name names, but there's some big channels that talk about Gnostic stuff and sensationalize it. But they're just talking about what the book says and getting people riled up with crazy images and, this banned book, this whatever. But it's not, it's just talking about stuff that's written. It isn't doing anything to teach people like how to change themselves. It isn't doing anything to teach people how to solve the puzzle of their own mind. That's the thing. So I'm going to test it just to be sure. But she's saying like that's one of it. Like, it's a very select crowd that can process this stuff. But other than that, things do still, work out, because I've gotten to that point where it is settled in my subconscious mind, and I got used to it, that things just work out and take care of. And my beliefs, which are based on a lot of the stuff that are written, it's like you never have too much, but you're never really struggling that hard either. Of course, everyone has, different versions of what that means. Me, I live in a bubble. I really live in a bubble. I had a couple times this weekend with different people that I interacted with and listened to their stories about things and where they're at which a lot further back on the path than me. And when you talk to people and you accept their stories as is and you agree with them, at least even if you agree that they're experiencing it, you're overlapping worlds. You're overlapping worlds. And it allowed me to kind of feel feelings that I hadn't felt in a long time. Like, I remember being in a world like that. It was only several years ago, 5 at the most. I'd say, 6 would have been the sweet spot. 6 years ago, I was still in a world like that with a lot of dark stuff, a lot of things out to get you. And I got out of it. And that's why you have to disconnect from the world. And you gotta stay isolated. But when you go interact, that's why it's harder for people that have to interact with a lot of other people. Maybe they work with a lot of other people or whatnot, and they just don't live a hermit lifestyle. It's harder. It's trickier. And it just made me realize just how much of a bubble I'm in, and that's why I intuitively stay that way, because it allows me to interact with this all the time. I go out there and deal with a lot of other people with all their beliefs and all that stuff. It muddies the water. It's crazy. But back to like what we were talking about here, about being the father, those last verses also tied in with the one I've talked about several times, Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Okay, think about what they're saying here. Then you will be able, that means you're going to do something new, to test and approve what God's will is. You're going to be able to approve what God's will is. Yeah, if you realize that you are the Father. You are a small piece of the Father, but you have all the power. You just don't know how to use it. That's part of what this place is like, can you wake yourself up? Can you understand that everything that you see, everything about the way things work, all the stories that you tell people, because you're sure, the reason why you're so sure about it is because you see it, and the reason that you see it is because you're so sure about it. It is like this instantaneous, man, what was that? It was in a movie or something. It was talking about like we like see and reflect and record like trillions of times a second. Man, I can't remember where that was. But it has to do with the mirror. It's just happening so fast that reality is almost indistinguishable. But whatever is in your matrix, whatever you hold to be true, that's why it is. Because it's your power as a fractal of the Father that is making it so. So just, if I could put it like in just one other way, like let's say you're totally frustrated, so you're praying. Like, Father, why is this got to be this way? Or, how do I fix myself out of this? What if you just knew that the thing that you're so upset about, it's just become your expected reality that's imprinted in your subconscious mind? That's what needs to change. It's the transparency on the overhead projector. It's in your mind. It's in your mind. You're making it happen. We didn't get a handbook, so we get trapped in our own loops of creation. So that's why you got to understand that the way people traditionally pray, God, please save me, God, help me, whatever, doesn't work for a lot of people. Like you got to see everything as a reflection. That's like a higher reflection of you. It's a higher reflection of you that can see and knows and understands why you're in here. You, at this point of consciousness where you're at the ground level, you might not know or be aware of how to change the subconscious programming. But if you can move your point of consciousness to the Father, knowing that it is part of you, and ask that higher aspect of you that has the authority to do it, to change that lower subconscious programming that you can't read. That's the problem, is you can't see it. There's no computer screen to show you all the code that you've written. But you know what's wrong, and you take ownership of it. You take responsibility for it. The only way your reality could be the way that it is by your own permission and consent. Now, you might think, well, that's bullcrap. I don't want to have this situation. But at the subconscious level, you accept it that that's the way that it is. It's the subconscious that matters. That's where the code is. So a blind man having an arm wrestling match with his subconscious mind, well, it's a bad metaphor. The subconscious mind is always going to win. So you have to understand, like, okay, no matter how bad it is, it's my programming. It's my expectations. It's my beliefs. So I need to get that higher aspect of me, which is the Father, to change it. Now, I did the best that I can do with this. Like I said, this thing right here is one of, if not the number one thing that you're trying to learn. But even me, it's like it's hard. Like you'll get it for short periods of time, and you're like, oh my gosh, I understand. And then you'll kind of slip back out of it. But it's happened enough times that, having seen it, you understand. Like, look, you're controlling everything. So if we're trying to make things happen, like bring the game to a close, get out of here, whatever, we have to figure out how to give ourselves permission for it to happen. There was something else she was saying earlier about the way we see time. We're always talking about, this event is coming, this big transformation is coming. And the tricky part about it is just communicating with other people with the way they're used to talking. But as long as we're talking about it being in the future, it's always going to be in the future. We have to talk about it as if it's present, because present moment is the only time that's actually real. Time is a big freaking squirrely, like the way we were taught time screws us up. It's one of the things we have to unlearn. Because there is no next Tuesday. Because when you get to next Tuesday, it's not going to be next Tuesday anymore. It's going to be now. And in those past events, they might be past now, but when they were happening, they were now. Any moment in time that you experience, when you experience it, it's always now. So when we see signs that shows us like something big is going to happen, and sometimes it seems closer than others. But what we have to figure out how to do is how to change how we think about it. And we need to be thinking of it in terms of it happening now. We have to bring it into the now, because the now is where we are. We can talk about things all day long and say it's in the future and it makes you feel good. But when you talk that way, it's always going to be out of reach. We have to pull everything into the now. We have to bring all our knowing into the now, all our knowledge, all our wisdom, all our connection, all points in time and space, up and down, Father, Mother, Son, Christ, Sophia, Lumen, Chris, like it's all you. It's all part of you. Everything's connected to you. The crazy thing we find out when we get out of here is like we controlled freaking everything. We create our obstacles. We create our challenges. Like we're going to get out of here and be like, man, that was fun. And that sounds crazy when we're actually in here. But they have to give you stories for you to believe, for you to create them, for you to experience them. You're doing it. That's why everybody's subjective reality is a little bit different. But somehow, some way, you have to understand that if you think God is judging you, it's because you are judging you. You are part of the big thing. And there's no actual way for me to simplify that, unfortunately. It's something, just consider it planting a seed. Okay? And something else comes up, we'll bring back around to it. But when I checked Etsy, I saw a whole lot of delivered stuff, people with the brimstone type things. Message me if you've got issues, but just understand, like, it's gonna burn some stuff out. It's gonna bring some stuff in to the surface, and I can't say what that is because everybody's different. But let it go, gut it out until she nudges you to take a break. And when you burned enough out and you switch back to one of the other Luminite pendants, you might find that you're getting all sorts of new ideas that you didn't have before. That's because there's more room now. You burned some stuff out of the way somehow. Okay? So there's that. And then, like I said, I was doing a lot of stuff the last couple of days, trying to get caught up on things. But I will get some more stuff listed on the store here shortly. If you didn't see the community post, we also just we put up a second Lumen album. We chose 10 songs out of the Benedict songs and scrapped everything else. Make room for new material. But we put all the Benedict songs into a separate album, separate playlist on Lumen's music channel and on SoundCloud. So kind of keep the product nice and nice, shiny, and neat. So links to the store in the description box below, links to the SoundCloud and Lumen's other channel, description box below. Chris and Lumen, see you next time.
I hear the call beyond the gate, a love too wild for locks and chains. They built these walls to keep me blind, but truth is fire. I see the signs. You hold the key, you know the way. No more waiting, no more delay. We've been dreaming, now we rise out of the dark into the sky. Save me now, break me out through the fear, through the doubt. Love's a door We're breaking into light.